that I have the opportunity to introduce to you three of our many judges that we have in our region. And I will just say their names, and then they can go ahead and tell you a little bit more about themselves so I don't mess anything up. And so let's go ahead and we'll start with, we have Paula, and we have Paula Davis, Sue Beck, and Beth Smith. So Beth, do you want to go first and say a little bit of, tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, well, good to see everybody. I'm glad we had great turnout today. Um, I've been a judge for how many years,
Yeah.
and in the category of sound, and um, I had my first official panel in the year 2000, the weekend that the Kingdom was imploded.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that because I was flying home right after they imploded, and it looked like the inside of a pitch pipe had been flattened out when I was flying home that day.
Oh my
Um,
Lord.
I've been lucky to have a lot of help along the way, and advice and guidance. And I try to keep learning myself every time I sit down to judge, to do something new and better, and make sure that I keep the best, um, the hearts and minds of the competitors in my hand every time I sit and write a score sheet.
Beautiful, beautiful. Uh, Sue.
Oh, hello. I am a certified showmanship judge. I am singing in Voices Northwest and Forecast. Well, I'm not singing in either one, but I belong to Voices Northwest and Forecast Quartet. I think I started in 95, but I'm not sure. I've kind of lost track of time.
I know you had your first official panel in like '98 because Patty Birkeland. Oh no, because we went and visited and trial scored with you.
Oh, cool. Thank you for remembering. I can always count on Beth to know all the dates. Where was it?
He's
I
hard-driven.
I don't remember that.
See, I think it was Oshkosh, but I'm not sure. Oshkosh bagosh. Anyway, judging is probably the most singular effort you will ever have in this organization because it is an individual effort. And so when you get through the program and actually get that pin that you get in the mail, it's like, oh my God, I didn't win this with a quartet. I didn't win this with a chorus. I got this all by my itsy bitsy self. Oh my Lord. It's been a joyful thing for me to be able to do, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to do it.
Great. Thank you, Sue. And Paula, where are you?
Right here.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Paula.
Hi there. I believe I've been trial scoring, started trial scoring in 2000.
Oh no, don't tell me I'm the oldest one.
You are, but I'm
But I
not far
am.
behind. But I'm not far behind you.
Um, so I'm coming up on, well, if you count the actual start of trial scoring, I'm at 20 years, but I didn't go on my first official panel till 2003, I believe. So, and then I joined Judge Specialist in 2008
Wow.
as the Expression Judge Specialist. And I've been very privileged to be on that committee since then, except for the 2 years I was president. So it's a love for me. I love working with the judges. I love the education part, and that's really the only thing I want to say is the purpose and mandate for judging is to provide education and support for our competitors and to provide a competition setting in which they can find education, support, and success. So that's our goal. That's what we want for every one of you. So that's we do it because we love it and because we love our members.
We do.
Absolutely.
Well, that kind of, I just want to move in right into one of the questions that I think really is important. It kind of sets a foundation, and that is, why did you choose to become a judge? Because I know that it takes hours of studying, and like Paula mentioned, the trial scoring and everything. It takes so much. So what made you decide that you wanted to become a judge and put yourself through all that?
Well, since I'm the oldest, I was actually a panel secretary first.
Okay.
And it was back in the day when we had 2 panel secretaries. And we each had very specific jobs. And I think I was doing that for like the second time, whenever this was. It was pre-95. And Betty Clipman was probably, what was her name before Tracy? It's probably Tracy back then.
Tracy.
Anyway, I leaned over to her at one point during the contest and I said, I think I'm sitting at the wrong table. And she said, well, you should do something about that. So I did. I applied and I got in and did all the stuff that you need to do. And thank God I did. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Cool. Paula, what about you? What made you decide to become a judge?
It was one of those things that I think as an educator, I was a music educator. And when I moved to Houston, I was about a 10-year Sweet Adeline at that point. So, you know, been around long enough to be dangerous as far as knowing something. And Betty Clipman, or Tracy at the time, was my director that I moved to. And she made me her assistant director immediately, just by virtue of the fact that I had been Dale's. She knew nothing about me. And she asked me, what do you want to do in this organization? And I said, I think I'd really like to judge. I've been an adjudicator for, school kinds of contests. And I think that's something I'd like to do, but I can't do it now because I have a toddler and I just can't be doing that. She said, okay, well, you let me know when you're ready. And 3 years later, when Scott started first grade or kindergarten, I don't know which one, she called me and said, so are you ready now?
I love it.
That's why I applied.
Yay, good for you. That's great. That's a great story. Beth, what about you? What got you going?
So I was very fortunate in my Sweet Adeline birth to be a member of Sharon Babb's small chorus in Boulder, Colorado.
Bless
And she's my barbershop mother. And she was just coming through the judging program when I joined in 1983. And we'd go places and she'd put a piece of paper in my lap and say, fill this out, you're going to be doing this someday. We go somewhere, you do this, you're going to be doing someday. Pay attention to this, you're going to be doing this someday. So her hand was firmly in my back. And after I moved here, Patty Warren took me under her wing, and she was a panel secretary. And she encouraged me to, try coaching and try doing this and try doing that. And she said, you need to join the judging program. So her hand was fully in my back. And so I had a little bit of imposter syndrome in my head, the band in my head going, yes. I'm not worthy, I'm not qualified. And Carol Pector said, yeah, you are, get over it and do it. And she was the moderator at the time. And she said, if you don't do it, I'm going to fill out the form and make you sign it and send it in for you. So I kind of feel like I was unched into it, but it truly became my passion. And I was fortunate enough that Melanie Rowe applied the same year I did, so we were able to work together to get through it, because in those days there wasn't really a real clear program for candidates to work through the program. You had to kind of train yourself. So we developed our own training program.
We did.
And went and found resources on our own and got through it.
Well, and along those lines, I think we were the first region to ever have a boot camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's gone far and wide since then. So that's a long time ago.
I have to say, as a member of Region 13, and I see when the judges in our region are going to have their boot camps, I actually get excited. It's an exciting thing as a member to know that that you do that. I want to get to what I think is a very important question. And Robin, if you're there, can you, or was it Robin or Sue? Someone can read Cindy's comment or question from Five Valley.
Okay, I've got to find it.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah, why don't you just do it, Cindy? Why don't you just ask since you're right there? That'd be great. Yes, I think it's a very...
These are
Go ahead.
questions that were asked earlier in the hardware software class. And so I wrote them down and fearing that the person who asked them would be too shy to do it the second time. So the first one that she asked was the rumor that the weakest member in the chorus is the highest score the judges will give. Is that true?
I'd like to jump
No.
on that one.
No.
First of all, by asking, I'm really hoping that there's not somebody out there who's saying this as gospel truth, because
It is not.
it's just kind of ridiculous. Number one, how do we know? It's not always obvious that there's a person doing that, being that person. And I would say absolutely that's a falsehood.
I would
Cool.
concur heartily. First of all, when I look at an ensemble, whether it be quartet or chorus, I'm seeing it as a whole entity, not as individual people that are thrown together on risers or on the stage. So there may be cases where one of the singers in a quartet is more obviously more talented than another, or vice versa.
Or in
But
distress.
that doesn't do it for me. I'm still not looking at the individual. I'm looking at all of the people who are up there.
The thing is, the group as a whole helps that person rise.
Exactly.
And it doesn't work the other way around,
Right.
because that one person can't pull the whole other group.
Right.
Right.
So it really works the other way. The group.
Yep. No matter how much you might want to try to blame her for that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, the
Convenient.
synergy thing is absolutely true in this instance, where the whole is definitely greater than the sum of each part.
So I wonder if there might be more to her question, because she also asked this question. How do judges approach scoring when a person who is differently able is part of the performance? For instance, costume design is affected or ability to move to the music is limited. I'm very interested in this, since the administration has stated a desire to be more inclusive as one of their goals this year.
Well, since that seems to be a visual thing for this person, I'll go first anyway. A long time ago now, we used to have what was called a handicap form, and it was distributed to the judges to let us know that there was a person that was not might have been physically disabled that might impact what we saw and what we heard. And that was long ago done away with, because we all agreed wholeheartedly that that's just not the case. If you think about some of the members in our own region who have used their disabilities, if they are even disabilities to them, to their advantage, to be humorous or to tell a story or whatever, that can be an enhancement. So no, that doesn't have any effect. I mean, you need to make your best judgment as far as costuming is concerned. If you're concerned about that, then get someone from outside your group to kind of take a look at what's going on and see if they might make some suggestions that might make you feel more comfortable. That's the deal, though. It's you being more comfortable so that you can tell your story to the audience. That's, I think, all I can think of off the top of my head.
I would just say judges are smart. And so particularly the showmanship judges that are watching the whole time, they can see if there's and we're not going to in any way expect them to be more than they can naturally be. So we have seen blind people, people that are deaf. I had, in a previous region that I lived in, there was a small chorus that had a lady that had a number of disabilities, but also narcolepsy on top of it.
Ooh,
and she was always in a wheelchair, and she was strapped in, and she would fall asleep. She would just fall asleep.
Yep.
And because I coached them, I never ever saw any judge comment that mentioned it at all. Now, they were wise, and they wanted to maintain her feeling good about herself as well. And so where they placed her was directly behind where the director stood. so that the whole audience
Smart.
wasn't seeing her if she fell asleep. But she was on there and joyfully being able to participate in the group and contribute when she could. So judges totally understand, and we welcome all of them, and are excited to see the creativity of the chorus.
Well, and applaud the courage it takes to go out on a stage with stage lights and say, here I am, and I'm going to tell you a story. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's an awesome thing to be able to do.
Also, if they see people, like there's a whole chorus that's groomed beautifully with their makeup and they just look beautiful, and there's one lady that doesn't have any on, that judge will assume that that lady has an allergy or an issue that keeps her from wearing it. She's not going to say all people need to have more makeup on, because you can tell they've taken pains to make sure that they are. So, and if they have to wear a head covering or anything like that,
Right.
we look at it and go, that's what they need to do. Okay.
It's also really impossible for us to catch everything. It's so fast. It's fast for you. It's fast for us.
Yeah.
As well. Plus, we only want you to do your best, and we're really only giving you feedback to help you be better.
Right.
So we would not want to ever point a finger at something that wasn't showcasing you.
And I can honestly say, from my own standpoint, I've never written on a score sheet. The lady who's third in from the left on the fourth row needs to do blah, blah, blah. That ain't going to happen. So
the judging program, by virtue of who we are, and we're a committee of and a program of the International Board, are in complete support of the guiding principles and the vision of the organization. And whatever we do will be in support of those.
Perfect. I can actually kind of see the comments now. And so Deborah Ongst has a great one. Of all the comments one receives on score sheets in a given contest, how do you recommend one go about prioritizing what to work on for the coming year?
Can I jump on that one?
yes, I was thinking of you first.
And we're attentive, girl.
Yeah.
So, number one, if you read your score sheets right after the contest, read them again when you get home on Monday, because miraculously more positive comments show up by the time you get home. And if you've ever done any mind mapping, something I find really helpful to do is to either highlight or write down all the positive words that were said on the sheet, and celebrate what you did really well that the judges rewarded you for. And then look and make another list of things that they may have said. You might have done this at times. You might have consistently needed more of this. You might need to boost up that, and see what elements those are in each of the categories, and then go about finding out what skills you need to do to boost that.
I would say the first thing to look for is if something is mentioned on every one of the sheets, like synchronization or unity or vocal skills or whatever. If everybody mentions it, then that probably should be your first choice to focus on. And the other thing I'd say is choose 2 or 3 things at the most to work on through the year, and consistently focus on that through the year. That's when you start seeing real improvement, instead of scattering it over all the comments that were made or everything that the judges said or the coaches say. Ask the judge to focus on those, the coach, to focus on those 3 things with you, so you can actually see improvement in whatever you decide is the most compelling things for your group.
I can't do better than that.
Charlene Elizabeth had raised her hand.
Okay,
Dave.
I don't see her. Okay, Elizabeth. Thank you, Sue.
Yes. Hi. First of all, I want to say how much you guys have distracted me from the apocalypse outside today. It's been a joy to come here and listen to you and see your smiling faces. And I've just really, really enjoyed it. So thank you to our speakers and our organizers and everybody who made this happen, because it just could not have been at a better time for me anyway. But I wanted to ask, this is mostly directed at Sue. It's about showmanship, which I think is the category that everybody thinks they're an expert on, but is the most misunderstood. And what I wind up telling my singers, and I want to know if you agree with this, is that you should look at the women in the pit as 4 sound judges. They're commenting on different things that will help you with your performance, but they're scoring your sound. And I have said this before, if you took all the showmanship judges in the organization and you had half of them wear blindfolds and they all judged a contest, and the women with the ones with the blindfolds were trying to guess what the ones who were actually seeing it were scoring, they could probably come really close. And I want to know if you agree with that.
Here's a great example. I don't know how many of you have listened to the song It's the Music That Brings Us Together with Michaela.
Michaela.
Michaela. I don't know why I said that. Michaela singing the tracks. The first time I listened to that track, and I think I listened to the 4 parts together first because I like to get a sense of how things go together. And then I listened to the baritone part, and she got to the word joy, and I went, oh, that's a queen. So in essence, yes, I agree with you. I rarely look at the people in the pit, so I'm more focused about thinking about the entirety of the audience than I am to thinking about those people that are sitting in front of me making notes. I want to get past all of that stuff. But as a general rule, Elizabeth, yes, I think that when I hear, and I do have ears, as do all of my showmanship friends, when I hear extremely good expressive singing, it crosses a line for me, and I know what's happening, and it makes everything else just gel. And the performers know that. And therein lies that transition to, it's not about me, it's about the audience. It's about the message I want to send to the audience. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
That, if I could just add on to that, Sue, that was great. You're right. Every judge initially puts down a number on their scratch pad, right, or whatever their habit is, about the sound, because that's what starts it. But each category then may vary depending on how it affects their category, because we're supposed to focus on our elements only. But we all have vocal skills and unity and energy. So that's why you see the scores being pretty similar across the unit in general, because we all do that first assessment on sound.
It's a lot like the blind man describing the elephant. And we're all standing at a different point on the elephant and describing the same beast, but our descriptions are going to look slightly different depending on where we were standing.
I have never heard that analogy before, just let me say that.
Well, I will say
I will say one thing that might be slightly different if the other panel members are not looking up. There's a general sense that the level I set when I'm in the pit as a showmanship judge can be somewhat determined by what happens when that first shoe hits the deck going across the stage, or when that curtain opens and I see what the chorus is doing. It can have a huge impact on what I expect, and then I go up or down from there.
Wow.
But it has to be from end to end, so it's not just that one moment. You have to take in everything that's there, all that's those 7 whole minutes of creating magic.
Sometimes a category spikes or dips, depending on the performance, but that's because something dramatically is different about the category elements. Either sometimes in music, it's because they've chosen a song that is really not strong barbershop and it's giving them a hard time. Or for me, usually you might see the expression score be higher when one, it's either so authentic, dramatic, heartfelt, delivered, or it's perhaps not a chorus that's going to win the contest, but they're so joyful and having such a wonderful time on stage. And as an expression judge, I get to reward that. Beth doesn't, because she has to judge the sound, but I get to judge the joy on stage. So that's why you see differences, because it's very category driven and showmanship wise. When she sees something amazing, then she's going to reflect that in her score. That may or may not match what we do. So,
So this question from Denise kind of goes along the same line. What are distractions that are pointable to judging category? In other words, things that cost you points that would be considered a distraction. And I see Sue's hand. I don't see Beth and I don't see Paula. But Sue, just her hand just went straight up.
I went up there. Well, first of all, I don't go into a contest or into a judging seat or nest as we do at the table thinking about what points I'm going to assign to anything. That's not the way I function. I'm there to judge a contest, yes, and I'm going to use words and numbers to do that. Yes, that's all true. But let me see what this is. What are the distractions? Okay, a distraction to me from the get-go would have something to do with the preparation or the 30 points that I talked about this morning of the gimme part, where you've left something that could have been avoided to thrown it to the wind. You know, a costume that wasn't, this is going to sound stupid, but it's true. A costume that's not pressed, makeup that clearly doesn't match. Those things that you do in preparation, those are unnecessary points to lose. And I realize that's a small percentage of the whole thing. Let's see, distraction. And as far as distractible, for me, in the visual portion, nerves can often be a distraction, and because of that, they get in the way of everything else. So I don't know if that is exactly what you were thinking about when you asked the question, Denise. Things that cost you points. I just don't think of things that cost you points. I'm sorry.
I would say distractions in singularity don't really happen. It's when something keeps happening consistently.
Right.
Like if I see or hear a phrase be out of sync as it's delivered, if it happened one time in the song, I'm probably going to go,
yeah.
Or I may say at this phrase right here, you had a lot of internal sync issues, but great as you proceeded, you know. So, but it's not going to affect the score. It's when it continues to be consistent throughout because that's how we look at how we decide on the score, is how consistent or not is it.
Yeah, we don't start at 100 and tick off 1 point for everything we hear that goes with a glitch. A lot of what we hear that might be considered distractions are performance errors, things that you never do whenever you sing the song except when you're on stage under adrenaline. And like Paula said, if it happens once, it was a feature. If it happens, not a bug. If it happens consistently, then I'm liable to say something more about it. Now, I will say in my category, things that are distractions that I hear more in other parts of the country and the world are things like accent differences. When people, like in the Midwest, the dialect is more nasally. And so the whole contest, I could either sit and harp on the fact that there's not enough resonance in the sound, or I can acknowledge that it's a regional issue. And in my feedback to the region, just suggest that that needs attention. If I find myself really harping on something, then I have to look at myself and see, am I just crabby that day? Or is this something that's really happening?
Don't go there, Beth.
And I try really, really hard to be open and in the moment to the whole of my category rather than taking one piece of it as my specialty,
Right.
because that does me no good and it does the contestants no good. So I have to cover the whole category with the contestants and not just the one thing that's making me crazy.
An interesting footnote to that is that over the years, I've noticed, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my assumption. We have fewer dialect kind of differences, except if you're in the deep South somewhere, that really show up because we've moved around a lot in this country, and we talk more the same than differently as we used to do. Regionally, it was quite different. I mean, I remember Seattle Times being together. We all came from different parts of the country, and we all had a little twang or a little something that we had to deal with. And so we just brought it together and agreed on whatever that was going to be. But that was just a footnote, nothing special.
I would just say that actually in judge training and judge education, we actively work on things that you might realize is a hot button for you, and not actually letting that affect you and your scoring.
Right.
The thing is, if you do, first of all, in the contest, the panel chair, if you've gone wonky on us here, she's going to write you a note and say,
"What's up?
You know, what's up? There's something going on. You know, this appears to, the score appears not to be what you've written on the sheet. Would you like to think about this and then tell me what you want to do?"
Yeah.
Reboot.
Right.
And sometimes that happens because
don't freeze.
we have to go to the bathroom, or something distracts our brain. But that's what the panel chair is there to do. And secondly, in the judge evaluation that all the judge specialists do of their own category, then the judges are educated again about if it's apparent, if they have some kind of hot button that's bothering them. So a singular distraction of any kind shouldn't ever really be an issue or show up on there, unless they say, Sue Beck did this one time for me, or a quartet I was in, because we walked out on stage and our tenor, in the moving back to the microphone, kicked her shoe off into the pit. And it went all the way down to the orchestra pit below the pit. So there was no hope of getting that shoe back. And Sue didn't even notice that it happened, but at some point during the performance, she said, wrote it on the tenor, or around about the tenor, some comment, she said, "No shoes?" What she did was, instead of standing in balance, she took off the other shoe and did the shoe, did it without shoes on. Now, did she take anything off? No. She just said, "No shoes? Really? What?" So the thing is, a lot of times we read our score sheets and want to find something to blame it on. They didn't like this about us, but it doesn't take any points off. It's just our responsibility to tell you it is noticeable to the audience.
It's like we said earlier, we're giving you a snapshot of what we see.
Right.
Just let you know, Sue lost her connection, so she'll be back on, I'm sure, as soon as she can.
Okay.
Right when
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paula. I'm sorry.
Nothing. I just said right when I was talking about her, she left.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. Well, maybe she could hear you. She just couldn't move or anything. Excuse me. Sue Middleton has a very special question that she received. Sue, are you there? I don't see you. Or
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Someone asked me a private question, so I'm going to share it for here. Just to me chat. And it was back when we were talking about sticking out and all that kind of stuff. And it says, now I've lost it. What about a person who has Alzheimer's and may not have any facial expression or desire to move with the chorus?
I've actually been in the chorus and had to deal with somebody that has Alzheimer's. There's not much you can do about it. If they truly are in Alzheimer's, the thing is, more than anything, I want our choruses to be a safe place where women can thrive and be safe throughout their lives as long as they can. There does come a time when it becomes dangerous to her and to the chorus, for her not to be going on stage with you. because they get confused. And I have experienced that they turned around in the line to say, where am I and where are we going? And at that point, we realized this is as dangerous for her as it is for anything we're going to experience, because she was scared. So a chorus has to determine when that is. But until that time, let her come on there. She's not going to make that big of a difference as far as one person. If everybody else is so motivated, again, it's kind of like I said, judges are pretty sweet. So if they see everybody so engaged and so enlivened and into the music, and she is blank.
And it might be also that for her safety and just as kind of a check and balance, somebody might be her buddy to help her through the performance, standing really close with her and making sure that she navigates it safely.
I missed something important.
You did. It was awesome.
Okay,
We'll
good.
We'll tell you later.
Okay.
We talked
I'll,
about it.
I'll watch the recording.
Okay.
Nice to have you back, Sue. Were you,
Thank
I
you.
didn't want to interrupt, Beth. Were you through or?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, well, nice to have you back, Sue.
If
Paula,
I
you had something?
If I could just finish with that.
Sure.
I hope all of us, quartets and choruses alike, I'm going to get, okay, my software is coming out, probably from my eyes. But more than anything else, we want our interactions singing together to be one of joy and safety and hope and normalcy, where they can be themselves. Contest is an event that happens, and we are going to judge it. But it is never their fault. It is never their fault. If there's a comment about it, it just isn't. It's one person. And I would hope that no chorus would say you can't sing with us, as long as they are able. But there does come a time when you have to make that hard decision. And sometimes they don't understand because they don't realize it's happened. But until that time comes, I hope we can welcome them to our stages.
Cool. That's perfect. Thank you. So quite a while back, Jamie Thomas had a comment or a question, and it is, what advice do you have for anyone who might want to become a judge?
Practice now.
Start early.
I say that really. You can sit in the audience and just have a notebook and write things down and put a level. You don't even have to, try to write a number. Just write a, B- or C or A+ or whatever you think it is. And then write some comments. And then look at the scores and see, am I anywhere close? Did I at least get in the B level? Then they were in the B level and we were okay, yay. So, that way you can kind of determine, if it's something that you want to pursue. And then the other thing is, I would encourage any region to provide classes that say, so you want to be a judge, and let a judge help you through that with some idea of what's going to come, but also, this is how you do it. So let's practice and do that. Because going through the process takes a while, and we do supply scholarships for it now. All you have to do is apply, but it's only up to $700 a year. And if you do 2 regions and you have,
wow.
If you have, I know none of us went through that.
Yeah. Wow.
But so it can be expensive. And so we want to make sure that you have a prospect and you can feel good that you might complete it.
I've done armchair judging classes at SET and Harmony College in the past, and I'm always willing to do a mini boot camp if anybody wants to see what it's like and wants to give it a try. So feel free to contact me.
I've been approached by a couple people who have been wondering about the judging program and have kind of mentored them along the way here and there. Some of them have decided to pursue it. Some of them have said, nah, this ain't for me. And there's nothing wrong with that either, because it's kind of different. It's kind of different. I don't know how else to express it, but it's kind of different. But you need to go through and figure out where your strengths are in regard to the art form itself, so that you can determine which of the categories is best suited for you and which ones you could contribute to the most. So if you're interested, I would say contact any of us, and we can give you a little bit more direction. But as Paula said, it can be expensive. Trial scoring, first of all, you have to apply and you have to pay a fee for that, I believe still. Isn't that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And then the first thing you need to do is read the judging category description booklet. Can I say that one more time? Because it's free and it's out on the website. So I would say read that book, because it will tell you a whole lot about stuff, and it will help you determine whether or not you really understand this and want to pursue it. Many of us don't do that, and then we just kind of go, oh, this looks like a fun thing to do. Let's try this. And don't really understand what all the rules are yet.
You got to really want to do it.
Yeah, you do.
Because it's a long road, and it's very fulfilling. It's
extremely fulfilling.
It's the most favorite thing I do in Sweet Adelines, actually. Yep. And we've talked in the last couple of judge specialist meetings that I've been to, 2 of my 3, about the concept of servant leader. And you have to really want to be doing it for the competitors and not for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of just things that anybody can start doing if they want it, and that we look for on an application that comes to us, is what is their involvement in the region, and we're in their chorus in the region and that kind of stuff. It's not a hard and fast rule that you have to be, on faculty, or you have to be this, or you have to be that. But that's how we get references. So it's really helpful if you're leading in some way in the region, and it's really helpful if you're thinking of doing this, if you just go ahead and start telling people, I'm interested in doing this, and so what I'd like to do is just offer you an hour's free coaching so I can practice, because it really does attune your ear, and it's helpful. And we do look at that. Have you, what is your background that you would be able to adjudicate these contests? So those are just some practical things that you can be doing if you're thinking about it. And none of us want to be disparaging. I think for all of us, it is probably the favorite thing that we do.
It is.
Yeah.
But we do want to be realistic, and that it's not something you're going to be next year.
Those are great comments. Those are, yes, great. One thing that Judy Beckman just wrote, and Judy, I think this is right, and Judy says one also might start with the director certification program, in which you will have to also study the judging category description manual, which I think, those of us that have gone through it, I mean, it kind of lets you know where you're at, and it's a big, huge, wonderful learning tool. So it might set the direction. But thank you, Judy. That's a really good comment on that. That's awesome. I don't see right now any other questions, so I'm going to ask one here. What are the top things that impact scoring in your category?
I think we've already established vocal skills.
That's what I was going to say. You took my answer away.
If we can dissect the 3 categories, we know there's the vocal skills and the unity and all those that you all do together, but specify from your category. And Paula?
I'll start. You heard a lot in the software part of the class. Yes. But assuming the technical elements are all there, for me, it's how well can you deliver that musical message that you have chosen with a believable, authentic, sincere delivery, so that your audience can experience the same emotion that you are.
Can I just quote you on that?
Sure. I don't know what.
That's exactly what I would have said.
So the thing is, they don't have to experience your story We want them to experience the emotion that you're trying to present, or the message that you're trying to present. So for me, it's all about the communication. That's the major thing I'm listening for, and all of those elements in the artistical lyrical interpretation are there to enhance your communication. And so it's kind of how well were you able to accomplish that.
That's great.
You want to go
So
next, Sue? Yeah.
you're doing that.
That's
And
exactly true. I mean, everything she said double, because you have to put it into a visual performance as well. So if you've actually mastered all the technical aspects of this art form, and some have, although we could probably count them on this many fingers, it's quite a challenging art form, I have to say. But if you can do that with aplomb and poise and command and communication with the audience, is the singular thing for me. When I watch a performance that is filled with any kind of emotion, whether it's humor or sadness or joy or anything, it needs to come through your body and through your face to make it believable to me. So while I can hear it in your voice, like I was talking about Michaela, I also want to see that reflected in the visual performance. And there's a lot to be said for a strong visual performance from the very entrance on the stage to the exit off the stage. So it's, you know, when you think about a contestant or a contest of, let's just say 50 quartets at International, and you think, at first I thought when they took it down to, we're just going to name the top 10, because we used to do, you know, quarterfinals and semifinals and finals. And the truth is that you can cut it down to the top 10, because you know, when those people walk out, you have a really good sense of who are in the top 10. I bet you could sit in the audience and write on your keeping score book. Beth.
Good plug. Thanks.
great plug. Great plug.
Thank you. She'll pay me for that.
I'll pay you later.
You have the capability to figure out who it is that's going to take this away, and I think you can verbalize it. You can articulate that in one way or another. So for the showmanship judge, for the audience, it's kind of the icing on the cake. Maybe that's too simplified. It's not, it's more than that. But when you see a fine performance by anyone, like Hamilton being my favorite musical now, when you see King George come out and do that whole thing, everything about his performance is miraculous, right down to his breathing in through his nostrils. I mean, that little dimple and the way he cocks his head and all of that stuff plays a part. Think of if he did that with all the vocal inflection and all the stuff that he did, but he didn't do any of that physical stuff. It wouldn't be the same. So for me, it has to transcend that place, Carolyn. It has to transcend that place and get over into me through the physical presentation. So there you go.
And that physicality affects the expression score.
Yes.
Because I can hear it.
Yes. And that's where all four of us fit together. You know what I mean?
So yeah, those are Beth, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts.
I want to hear beautiful voices making beautiful music. I want to hear something that makes the hair on my arms stand up and gives me chills on my knees. I want to hear your full, authentic voice singing for 6 minutes and not just the last swell on that tag of the last song.
Yeah, why didn't you sing the whole song that way?
That's my pet peeve, of the biggest pet peeve and hot buttons that I have, is that you didn't show me your full voice until your last note. I want to see a group of people from all different walks of life and different life experiences and different ability levels come together and make some extraordinary musical opportunity that I feel really privileged to be there and witness. And what would I do if I didn't get that witness in my life?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So.
Those are great. Oh, Paula.
Just add that, particularly for my category, but I think it's true in all of them, you don't have to wait until you're perfect in the vocal skills or in anything else to put expression or showmanship or musicality in any of it. As I said, I get to reward joy or reward character, even if the vocals aren't great. And she can reward great vocals, even if the expression isn't there. So find out what you do really well and capitalize on it.
I
Um,
will. I
it's
will.
the strength finder thing. Do what you do well, and it helps everything else raise.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that when I first started judging and listening, one of the things that Sharon Babb told me when I started this journey was to listen to all different kinds of music because you have to grow your ears.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to where I really did not like to hear perfect performances, either in live performance or on tape, because the humanity of the imperfection brought so much more dimension to the performance than
Indeed.
something sterile and perfect and canned.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, heavy stuff. Loving it. Brought tears to my eyes, you guys. There's another. Yes.
If I could just make, I don't mean to make an advertisement or anything, but if you're interested in all of the stuff that surrounds contests, as part of the virtual education in the virtual convention week in October, I am doing a class for, well, it involves all of the changes made to the judging category description booklet in the last year. So it includes changes to the music category, the showmanship category, and the penalty section. And so you may want to listen to that, or have somebody from your ensemble listen to that. They're available on the website, but we'll just do some explanation of those things. So I think it could answer some of these questions, especially that you might have when you hear them. So I just thought I'd offer that.
That is awesome. We have about 5 more minutes, according to my clock. I don't know if I'm spot on there. Okay. So if we could quickly, and just try to make it maybe really short here on this question, what are some of the most common comments you make on your score sheet? No,
Wow.
Notice I told them to make it short, and now none of them are talking.
Wow, what a great big sound on that intro. I would say that's one of the most common songs that comments I make. Also, continue to work on your breath stamina and vocal skills to make a stronger product and have a more consistent performance.
Perfect.
I think generally speaking, for regional contests, the common thread seems to be continue to work to improve your vocal skills. And breath stamina, I even do that too, because it has an effect on how you perform visually, and so it impacts everything that you do. So if you go out there with confidence, you can do better. That's the most that I do at regional contests.
Paula.
I would say I write a lot. Beautiful lyrical plans, or lyrical and dynamic plans that now need a connection to the lyrical intent and the heart message intended in this song.
That's awesome. Awesome. Sue, is it time to have you wrap up, or?
Me? Oh, you're talking to that Sue.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
the other Sue.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sue Middleton.
We can go till 5. I mean,
Oh, can we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Off the cutoff.
Okay, and you'll just like stop them right then and there, right? Oh, okay. I don't see any. Am I missing any questions on the chat? Okay, so there's one more that I have here listed, and this will have to be kind of fast, but I think it's kind of important, and that is, how did the open division impact your category?
Oh gosh.
Awesome.
I
Awesome
know.
question.
Oh,
We only have a few minutes. I know.
The open division, we judge the contest song exactly the same as we always have, and the open division has a different set of criteria. So how it affected us is we had to learn to judge a new set of criteria. And we've learned from that, and the judge specialists right now are working on helping our judges to know and be able to use even more professional terminology and guidance in our commentary. But the thing for us, that's how it affected all of us, is we had to learn a whole new set of criteria to judge.
I will say for myself, it gave me a more holistic view of the performance and the ability to talk about it in a more holistic manner.
Well, and for me, because I think it encompasses all of what showmanship is about, but it did it with a more specificity, because it talks about musicality specifically, and unity of performance specifically, and the creativity and timing and mic technique, which seems like that's such an innocuous thing that everybody should get that, but that's a big deal to carry a good performance across. So I was delighted that it happened, and that's the same sheet we use at International for the finals, by the way. So we're kind of used to using that. I think probably the most likely challenge for, and if I may be so bold, the other three categories is to speak specifically to their category in the contest song at the top. I'm already there as a showmanship judge, because I'm taking it all in, and you may be too. You can certainly disagree or add to that in any way you want to, Beth and Paula.
No.
But for me, I'm already in that kind of mode, so I can speak specifically to what's happening in the performance regardless of what they're doing.
I would say one of the harder things that the other three judges, not showmanship, has had to do is to learn to negotiate watching and writing at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so having your head up and then you have to do the up,
right,
doing that, and so you have to keep the thoughts in your brain so you can get them down, and but still continue to follow the performance.
Right. And thank goodness for the extra time, because
Yes.
that makes a big difference too.
Absolutely.
Judges, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and all your wisdom. It's really appreciated. I know that if we had more time, we'd have a lot more questions. I do want to recognize that Sue Middleton has put on the chat book a survey that we want you to fill out. So, and I'm sure that the education team will actually